Hello, I'm Elise Rowena, and today I kind of want to go over something a little bit silly because I very recently came to this realization. I've been doing content creation on and off for 12 years now, which is insane to think about just because, obviously I didn't really get that far or anywhere. But I just thought it'd be a very fun video to go over kind of what my content creation journey looked like. Um, and when I started, I really wanted to do a draw my life video. However, 12 years ago, I was 10 years old. So, needless to say, I did not exactly have a life to draw at that point. I'm 22 now, so I still barely have a life to draw. But I did want to narrate my content creation journey because I think it's a very fun thing to look back at. I think it is very, very cool to be able to go back and just kind of see where you came from, you know? So, my content creation journey, like I said, started when I was 10. And I watched a lot of Minecraft YouTubers at the time, as probably many 10-year-olds did, and honestly probably still do. I know the big ones that I watched were like Popular MMOs and AFMAO, Carflow, DanTDM, that whole shebang. And I adored the stories that were told in their worlds. I know specifically AFMAO and Carflow did like roleplay series, which I thought was really, really awesome. And DanTDM obviously had Dr. Treoris and all of that. So I kind of wanted to do something similar. And I didn't have Minecraft. So Roblox was the next best thing. I know, terrible thing to say now, looking on in retrospect. Pretty much I was just searching for ways to be as popular as they were. And being a content creator felt like my calling, as I'm sure it did for a lot of kids. And while I would say back in my day, I don't think that's changed at all. There's still so many kids out there that are chasing content creation and they want to do that whole thing. However, the first thing I needed was a name to go by online. Because my dad was very like, you cannot share your real name. Do not do that. Like, it's dangerous. You are, again, need I remind you, a 10-year-old. And so I went with a name that I use somewhat regularly, which was Draketa Dracula. If there's anybody still subscribed to this channel from those days, congrats. You're older now. How does that feel? I'm sure you could guess I was a huge fan of Monster High at the time. I dare you to guess what my favorite character was. But it was the name of a character that I played a lot on a game called Darkened Dawn, a game which I am 90% sure is dead by now. I would be shocked if it was not. And this is my first OC that I ever created, and I thought it was a good name as any to get started with. So, I started to make Roblox videos, mainly role-playing by myself. I did not have friends to ask, and I honestly thought role-playing was a teeny tiny bit cringy, and so I wasn't gonna ask anybody like, hey, do you want to make YouTube videos with me to post on my YouTube channel? You know? And at the time, I also didn't have any streaming software. I did not have OBS. I did not have any of that. I didn't have Bandicamp or whatever it was back then. Roblox just had a built-in recording function, which is, I mean, it's cool. I just remember the video quality wasn't great, but then again, again, early 2010s, guys. I was not doing great there. But yeah, so I started doing that. I had like a series called Fox Sisters, I think, that took place on some beach resort. And you just typed in the chat, like, hey guys, I'm doing a YouTube video, and today I'm gonna show you how to da-da-da-da-da, right? And that was kind of a big thing for me. I know the one that I had that got so many views was like how to win this dress-up game. It was pretty much the early 2010s version of Dress to Impress. It was nothing fantastic at all. There was no fancy models. You had an R15 and a dream, okay? We didn't have these fancy extra, we didn't have all the fancy add-ons. You didn't have earrings that you could place on your model or glamorous hair. These were very run-of-the-mill, like, outfits. And I knew at the time that the clickbait titles were what got a lot of attention. I didn't use them anymore after that, but yeah. that was just kind of where everything started. And I was having a lot of fun. I would just kind of record whatever game I was playing through Roblox and just use the text to chat because I didn't know how to set up a mic. I didn't know how people were doing that. Again, I was a 10-year-old. And honestly, you know what? To give myself credit, I feel like I was a pretty, like, out there 12-year-old or 10-year-old, okay? I was like, let's figure out how we can do this without needing a microphone, because I don't know how to use a microphone. And now, speaking of not knowing how to use a microphone, eventually, I had finally gotten Minecraft for my PlayStation 3. And this is kind of ancient, I know. And I know you might be thinking, oh, well, you know, PlayStations, they have the mics and the controllers. You can do that. Not PS3 controllers, man. Not PS3 controllers. They had a charging port, and that was it. If you wanted to use your mic, it had to be plugged directly into the PlayStation. Kind of ancient, I know. You young kids, you're not gonna get any of this, right? But no, I really wanted to learn how to record Minecraft. Issue was, I didn't know how people were recording Minecraft. There were YouTubers that played Xbox Minecraft, and I was like, well, how are they capturing their screens and their mics? And I don't know how to do any of this. So, I came up with, I can't lie, probably one of the worst setups you've ever seen in your life. But again, I was a child with a dream, okay? Dream big here. Don't let your technology limit you. And so, for all of my Percy Jackson fans out there, I believed myself to be a Cabin 9 kid, okay? Certified inventor. So I made the scariest, most stress-inducing contraption to record my screen, record my TV screen, mind you, and catch my mic, and catch, like, what my friends were saying. And the setup was essentially this. I had a stereo, like, holder thing. You were meant to put a speaker on top of it. I would stack books and, like, pencil cases on top of themselves. And then I would balance my computer on top of it while it was plugged in with my shitty laptop webcam. And I just prayed that my computer microphone would catch whatever I was saying. And then I would, like, crank up the TV volume, so that way it would also catch the TV volume. Now, one of my favorite memories of this, when going back to rewatch these videos at one point, a few years ago, was you could hear my father playing Rainbow Six Siege and yelling at his teammates better than you could hear me. And I just thought that was very, very funny. This was also back in the day when you could, I don't know if you can still do this on YouTube. Obviously, I just upload my videos from OBS now, but you could just record straight from YouTube. Like that was a thing you could do. And I would just do that. I also didn't have a phone number, so I could only record 15-minute videos at any given time. And if you ever went over those 15 minutes, you pretty much, like, lost the video. I remember this specifically being a problem that I had. And, like, my mom and my dad were like, we're not gonna give you our phone number so you can, or, like, our email so you can verify your YouTube. We're not doing that. You're barely even supposed to have a YouTube anyways. And I was like, okay, well, fair. And you know what? The videos were terrible quality. They were, like, really shitty building in Minecraft with my friends on a flat sandbox world type of deal. But I was proud of them. And I was having a lot of fun making these videos because it made me feel like I was doing something important at the time. One of the other things that I had done at the time was also, like, kids, don't ever put your face on the internet. I remember recording a video discussing the bite of 87. Again, on my very crappy laptop with a terrible webcam quality and a microphone. And I was trying to get everything out in 15 minutes or less. And my dad would sit there listening to me because this was technically his office. I'm actually still in the same room as I was. I moved my bedroom into here. And he was like, you gotta write a script or something, because I've watched you restart this video like 12 times. If he saw how I was recording this video, he would probably still be mad at me. But it was just the fact that I was doing something that everybody else was doing. And it felt very, very good. It felt awesome to be able to do all of that and really just kind of feel like you were part of something big and important. And this was my like, I'm gonna be rich and I'm gonna be so famous and I'm gonna be so popular and you know, this is what I want to do. But then eventually I stopped making videos because I realized that I wasn't becoming the next Markiplier or popular MMOs or Dan TDM. And when you're a kid, that can feel really rough. It's like, man, I'm putting a lot of effort into this and I'm just not getting anything back. And so I just stopped making content for a good long while. And then I had a resurgence in 2017. I learned the glory of MMD and PMX editor, and I was under a new alias called Alice Akishiro. Again, another name that originated from a character of mine. I'm also pretty sure my old DeviantArt is under that name. If you want to like go find it, feel free. It's just really shitty MMD art and like doodles from my sketchbook from when I was in middle school. And this name did originate from another roleplay game. It was from Anime High School, which I think still has people playing it. Hi, Editor Elise here. When I was going to look for Anime High School to pretty much just put it up, I actually found out that it's now called Kaizen. So, yeah. Roleplay used to be like a very serious thing back when I was younger. You would have so many sessions of roleplay. But also, just to remember, like, Discord wasn't a thing back then. Or it was and I didn't have an account. But, like, roleplay servers, I feel like definitely weren't as popular. So, roleplay that happened, you would, like, friend everybody on Roblox and maybe get, like, their Skype. And you would coordinate stuff. That's kind of what I did, at least. But I was a whopping 13 years old, and that was, like, practically an adult to me at the time. Because I was like, I'm 13. I'm the most mature person ever. But yeah, and the MMD and animation community was absolutely booming. I didn't have a way to do digital art, so I learned how to splice together 3D models in PMX editor and make my OCs because I thought that was like a really, really fun thing to do. And it was my way of making art because it was time consuming, but it felt good for it to be time consuming, you know? And I would just take downloads off of whatever YouTube video I found to download the motion, and I would just make a bunch of random little videos with my OCs and my friends' OCs because that was my way of creating art. I'm pretty sure I have gotten so many viruses on that laptop because of all the shit I was downloading. And Mediafire isn't the best website. I'll be real. But I really wanted to become more art focused, and I wanted to truly share my stories with the world. I wanted to have my own thing. And I was actually writing stuff like on Wattpad and Quotev at the time, which, okay, no 13-year-old had any business being on either of those, but I was. And I was having a lot of fun sharing my stories with everyone and just really making more art-based content. And I even made some friends in the MMD community. Like, there was a lot of Hetalia stuff that I was into, and so I made a few friends that way. And they would sometimes help me out with, like, making models and stuff. I was like, hey, I don't know what's causing this issue. Can you help? And this was a time where tutorials weren't necessarily, like, a super big thing, or at least I didn't know how to look for them. So a lot of it was just praying you found a person on DeviantArt that was going to explain how everything worked and being able to follow PMX tutorials and all this other stuff. And yeah, I just started making that shift to do something a little bit different. But just like last time, the lack of attention on my content started bogging me down, and I started to give up again. And then, you'll never believe it, I got another name change. I went to go to, instead of making YouTube videos and everything else, I turned to streaming in 2020. I took up another alias. It was Mischief Managed. Ooh. I wanted to get into showing my face online more, and I thought it was a very fun handle to have. I was also a massive Harry Potter fan at the time. But I was a Homestuck fan as well. Also, I know, cringe. So the way that it was capitalized was spelled like a Pester Chum handle. I think at one point I wanted to be called the Vocal Chaos, but I wasn't really doing anything with music, so yeah, that didn't really like work out. But I was a facecam streamer. In fact, you can still find videos of me, like clips from when I was a little bit younger. I was probably like 17 or 18. Playing video games with my friends, and they're still on my Twitch because, you know, why not? I'm not gonna take them down. I don't really care to hide my face. But the way that it worked is I would come home from school and then I would stream for 6 hours because that's what I wanted to do. I would play Fortnite. I know one of the biggest streams I did was We Happy Few. I think that was like literally over a 12 to 14 hour stream. And that's because I thought streams were supposed to be that long. I was like, oh, well, there's so many YouTubers out there that stream for that long, so that's how long I should be streaming. Little did I know that was like, no, you're not supposed to be doing that just as like a beginning streamer, or at least like it can hurt your growth or whatever because of how Twitch was counting average viewers. However, I also didn't really know anything about like having a brand, and the content creation sphere was still kind of new to me in that aspect. I didn't know what the hell I was supposed to be doing. I didn't know that I needed a logo. I didn't know that I needed, you know, panels. I didn't know that I needed any of this because I just wanted to hit stream and go and to become popular and famous and make money because, again, content creation was something I had always wanted to do. It was my dream. And so, like, my parents for Christmas got me a microphone and a webcam. A webcam I still use to this day. I am using the same webcam. It has a ring light on it. It's actually really good for VTubing, unironically. And so all I had was my webcam, my mic, and a dream. And I streamed, and I streamed, and I streamed, and there would be a few people that would come in and be regulars for like a few weeks, and then they would kind of drop out. But I still wasn't really getting anywhere. And I know everyone's like, oh, well, don't look at numbers. Don't look at numbers, because if you look at numbers, then people, like, you're just gonna get let down. And I couldn't stop myself from looking at the numbers and being like, man, I really, really wish I had more viewers right now. And so it was kind of demoralizing because I was like, man, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. I'm funny. I think I'm entertaining. I'm streaming games. So why am I not going anywhere in this? And on top of that, I had a job in high school. I was also like, I was trying to promote my stream everywhere. I was like, I'm joining streaming servers. I'm doing all this stuff. Why isn't anything working? And that's when I found VTubing. So around 2022, I discovered VTubing, and I was like, wow, I actually really like this. I don't know if he'll ever see this video. God, I hope not. I watched a VTuber called Faf9 at the time, and I still do to this day. I absolutely love watching his VODs and like his videos on his main channel and all that. And he had a stream avatar, and I was like, I want a stream avatar, but I don't know how to make a stream avatar. I also, for some reason, the idea of just like a PNG sitting there, I could not technically wrap my head around it. I was really, really stupid. So, you know, I did the easy thing, which was learning how to separate and rig art. Or a live 2D VTuber. I watched tutorials after tutorials. I wasn't even playing games. For a straight week, I just put my head down and grinded, and I made a VTuber. I repurposed my really shitty spider Sona at the time, which didn't even have that good of a design, to be honest. And I just made a VTuber. It was waist up. She didn't even have full arms. And I made it myself. It turns out, you know, Live 2D isn't magic. It didn't auto-animate everything for you. I don't know why I thought that it would, but yeah, I grinded out, figuring out how to do all this stuff, and I had my first VTuber, and it looked terrible, and it moved even worse. It was such janky rigging. I didn't know how to make things symmetrical. I didn't know how any of that worked. So I gave her like one eye. I had the hair cover the other eye. It was a mess. And it was a mess. Like just flat out. It didn't look good. It was literally so pasty white that I was like genuinely getting outshined by my own games when I tried to use the adaptive lighting. And you know what? It might have not been great, but it was mine, and I was really proud of it. And I know my dad was pretty impressed with it as well, where he was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I don't know how any of this works, but yeah, you know, this is cool. And then finally, in about 2022, I revamped my model. Towards like the tail end of it. Like closer, I want to say closer to December. And I was probably like, you know, 17, 18 at the time. I wanted a more mature VTuber model because all of the VTubers I was seeing did have more mature models. And by more mature, I really just mean their boobs were out. I can't hold you on that one. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a model, you know, with a little bit more in this area. You feel me? And so I came out with my 2.0 model, which again was entirely rigged by me. It still had this weird, like, lineless art style, but part of the thing that really grew on me was the fact that it looked so different from other VTubers. And that was my whole thing. I was like, I don't want to look like every other VTuber. I don't want to look like all these other people I'm seeing. I want to look like me. I still didn't know how to separate or rig anything. The entire, like, back part of the hair was entirely, like, one piece. There was no separation on it. It was just one piece of hair, and then I think the bangs and stuff were separated into, like, a few different sections. Overall, it was still a really janky model. It had maybe 5 toggles, but there were still some growing pains with it. And while I was proud of it, it just didn't have what other VTuber models had. It had maybe 5 toggles. I think there was like a blush, a dread, like a heart and a sparkle, and maybe one other thing. I don't really remember. But it was also around this time that I changed names again. And that is when XRAnimator was finally born. I know you guys are probably like, man, where the fuck did XRAnimator come from? And the short of it is that I liked Alice as an alias, but I'm sure there were 1,000,001 people named Alice. And so I was like, okay, I need to find something cool. What's a fun way I can put a spin on this? Elise. Ooh, that sounds cool. And then my original design actually had, like, on the arms and everything, there used to be, like, tattoos and runes because I had tattoos. I still have tattoos. And so that was kind of a big thing for me, is that that's where Ruina came from, because, like, oh, magical runes, Ruina, that's so cool. I've gotten asked multiple times if I played the Library of Ruina. I have not. I also haven't touched Limbus Company or any of the other games, but, you know, fun things happen. And yeah, and then in August of 2023 is when I commissioned a 3D model, my first ever 3D model. I will link the VGen of the person who made it down below. It's the Unreliable Cleric. They did an amazing job. I absolutely loved that 3D model with my whole heart. In fact, the eyes on this model, these weren't a thing before, but I really liked the way that they did the eyes on my model, and so the design has stayed, and I really like it. It feels very cool and unique. And yeah, it was pretty much everything I ever wanted. I had hands, I had legs, I had all of the things, and it was wonderful. I didn't have to do too much, and I think I paid $160 for it. That was thank you, Sonic Paycheck, you know? Um, but that was my big thing. I spent money on that because that is what made me very happy. And the model was everything I had hoped for, truly. However, then I got a job, another job, a job, not part-time high school job, a full-time job that I still work to this day. I work 9 to 7. And I was working 9 to 7 at the time, 4 times a week, and streaming on my off days felt like a hassle because I was like, I just want to sleep and rest, and like I don't want to, sit down and do all the I really just want to sleep. And so I kept streaming and I kept trying to push myself, and then I got swamped. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so I had pretty much hit a very, very hard slump where I didn't even really know what I wanted out of VTubing or content creation anymore. Obviously, the dream was to do it full time. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to quit my job and just become a full-time VTuber and artist and all these other things. But I didn't draw consistently enough to be a full-time artist or open commissions or anything like that. I do have commissions open though. And I didn't have a gimmick. I didn't have a specialty. I didn't have something my design was known for other than just being another generic blonde elf with green eyes. I didn't have any of that. And so my friend was like, okay, well, you're right. You don't have a theme. You don't have bells and whistles. You don't have a lot of these things. So what do you want to be known for? And I was like, well, I don't know. Like, but my big thing about my design, as you can kind of see, is it's a very simplistic design, all things considered. I don't have techno stripes or a million pieces of jewelry or a fancy dress. I have a cut-off shirt, a bra strap, and saggy pants that you can't see right now. And that was my thing. I liked being the VTuber that was gonna be easy to draw and easy to model. I did not want my design to be complicated because I barely wear complicated clothes. Half the time, I'm wearing pajamas. And he went, okay, well, lean into that. Be comfy, be cozy, be all of these things. And at some point, when I looked at my VTuber model, I just didn't see myself anymore. I didn't see who I wanted to be. I saw a character on a screen, but not who I wanted to be. And I think that was really important to kind of recognize. And so, another rebrand began. And this time, I had an idea in mind. Now, the first thing that I did was I finally gave Vroid another shot. I tried it at the start of my VTubing journey because everyone was like, just do Vroid, it's gonna be great. But here was the main problem. I didn't want my VTuber to have the, generic Vroid look, I guess. And so I went through 1,000,001 tutorials on figuring out how to not do that. I wanted to look unique. I wanted to seem a little bit different. And a lot of them said, ultimately, it's down to retexturing a lot of things and changing a lot of the eye shapes. So I did. And that's kind of how I got how I look now. I was like, you know what? I still like the star theme. I still like my vaguely bisexual color palette. Let's keep those and let's move from there. I made the hair a little bit more pink on the edges to give it a very neat look that I think is kind of unique. And I gave myself some more makeup, and I just overall made myself look a little bit more closer to how I wanted to look. I gave myself, way shorter hair. My hair used to go all the way down to my model's butt, and now it's at my shoulders, just like my hair in real life is. I actually got a haircut in real life as well because I was kind of sick of how I looked. But I just wanted something new and something that felt a little bit more like me. I had built this entire thing as a character of Elise Rowena and the elf that was, banished from the stars. But I didn't want that. I didn't want a character. It's just kind of what everyone else was doing. And So I was like, you know what? This is just gonna be me. And I'll get some props for when I play certain games, but I do still want to just be a cozy model. And you know what? I'll work on getting a little bit more of a recognizable silhouette, and let's see what I want to do. And so I sat down, I was DMing him for a few days, like different ideas of what I wanted. So I eventually came up with a new background screen. I came up with a new starting soon screen, like starting soon / BRB screen. I came up with a new stream schedule. Everything was drawn on, and it looked like there was just doodled on a background because I wanted to really show off the fact that I was an artist and I make these things myself. This VTuber model was made in a little, I want to say over 24 hours. I just hammered home and got the model done. I was going back and forth between Clip Studio Paint and Vroid on my iPad, mind you, which is a terrible decision. It is absolutely horrible to try and do that. But I was like, this is it. This is going to be my new rebrand. And I am extremely happy with how it played out. I still don't have a gimmick, but I am myself. And I think that was kind of the ultimate lesson that I needed to learn, was that as much as I wanted a brand and I wanted all these things that everybody else had, because it seemed like that was what was making everyone popular, was their gimmick. I just kind of wanted to be able to stream whenever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and stream with my friends because I love my friends and I like showing them off and playing games with them and showing that I can play games with people, you know? And yeah, and so that's how we got here. My gimmick is that I don't have a gimmick. I just kind of do whatever I want, and I'm a very, I guess, comfy streamer. I just kind of go with the flow. I don't have a character that I play or a voice that I put on. This is just my voice. And that is what made me happy. And yeah, if you guys do want to still help me fulfill my dream of becoming a full-time content creator, do go follow me over on Twitter, or check out any of my other socials. I have a Blue Sky. I don't really post there. I got it when Twitter was kind of going to hell, and I just don't post there as often. I might post there like once in a while. I also do have a VGen, and I am working on setting up a more VTubing oriented Instagram. It's been sitting there for a while with nothing on it, but I do have the page. And before I go, I just want everybody to remember that in a world where generative AI is making everything kind of seem like doom and gloom, do not let people dampen your creativity, and just don't give up. You know, again, I've been doing this for 12 years and I have gotten pretty much nowhere, but I'm having fun, and that is what matters. And numbers, people will tell you not to look at numbers. You're always gonna look at them, but they truly don't matter so long as you are having fun doing what you want to do. And you know what? If you want to get into VTubing, there is so many free avenues to do it. There are so many cheaper avenues to do it. There is a lot of customizable VTuber models that go on sale every now and then. You can start out as a PNG. You can... this is all self-taught. Like, I rigged all of this on my own with a few... The only thing I really looked up YouTube tutorials for was my ears. And that's it, so they can go up and down. And that was some work in Blender. And just make the leap. Do it. It's gonna be fun. And you might feel a little bit discouraged at times, but that's kind of just part of the journey. And just take that leap. Be unapologetically yourself. And I will see you all the next time. Bye-bye.